the KMNN studios, this is the Kids Morning News Network. Good morning, everybody. It's July 26th, 2024, and I'm Alex in the KMNN studio in New York. If you're a new listener, welcome.
Hi.
It's National Disability Independence Day. This commemorates the day back in 1990 that the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush. There were two President George Bushes, and they both had W as a middle initial. Fortunately, one had an H too. Anyway, back to the story. The Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, makes it against the law to discriminate, that means treat people differently, because of a disability. So, happy National Disability Independence Day. Today is the official opening day of the Summer Olympic Games in Paris. It's traditional for the athletes at the Olympics to parade into a stadium during the opening ceremonies. This year, they're doing things a little bit differently. The athletes will arrive by boat. They'll be coming down the River Seine, which runs through Paris. Since there are more than 10,000 athletes from 206 countries, there will be a lot of boats. 94 boats. It's a fleet, a flotilla, an armada. Is one of those words more accurate than the others? I don't know. Shoot me a message from the link in the episode description and tell me what you think. Anyway, the athletes will apparently stay on the boats throughout the ceremony, so I hope none of them get seasick. The ceremony begins this evening, Paris time, which means 1:30 in the afternoon on the east coast of the United States and 10:30 in the morning on the west coast. But they'll be showing it again this evening. Even though the ceremony is today, the games have already begun with soccer, or football if you're anywhere but the U.S., and rugby. Pop quiz. Does Team USA have a rugby team? No, it has two, men's and women's. The men's team had two matches on Wednesday. It tied against France in the morning and lost to Fiji in the afternoon. And the rugby team went up against Uruguay yesterday, Thursday, and they won. Team USA men's soccer was also playing France on Wednesday. It was a scoreless game for the first hour, but France ended up taking the win. And by the way, this is the first time since 2008 that the U.S. has fielded a men's Olympic soccer team. Go Team USA! Well, in honor of the beginning of the Olympics, I have put together a list of the 5 most unusual Olympic sports that are no longer in the Games. Number 5, tug of war. Yes, tug of war was an Olympic sport once upon a time, from 1900 to 1920 to be exact. Depending on the year, teams had either 5, 6, or 8 members. Countries could have more than one team, and sometimes teams were made up of members from more than one country. Number 4, water motorsports. That's right, they had powerboating, the only motorized sport ever to be an Olympic event. It was held at the 1900 Summer Olympics and then once more in 1908. Roque. This is an American version of croquet. Have you ever seen croquet? You play it on grass and use wooden mallets to knock a ball through wire wickets. Kind of calm, kind of soothing. Well, in Roque, you play on a hard court and you can ricochet the ball off the walls like you do when you shoot pool. It showed up in the 1904 Olympics, then never again. Basque pelota. This is a very fast game from France and Spain where players whip a ball against a wall using some kind of a racket. There's a version of it today called Highlight. It showed up in the Olympics in 1900 in Paris, just like this year, with only 2 teams entered, France and Spain. And the French team forfeited. They quit. So Spain is the only country to ever win a gold medal in Basque pelota. And finally, the number one unusual Olympic sport that is no longer in the games, plunging. Not like you do to a toilet. Plunging, I'll wait for you to stop laughing, only appeared in the Olympics once in 1904. That was a year with a lot of wacky sports. And only 5 men, all of them were men, competed. But plunging was actually pretty common in swimming competitions at the time. So what was plunging the sport as opposed to plunging to fix a toilet? Well, the competitors would stand at the edge of the pool, 1.5 feet above the water, put their arms over their heads and dive in. They'd travel under the water for a bit and then bob up to the surface, and then they'd just float. They weren't allowed to raise their heads, take a breath, or move in any way. They had to be perfectly still. Writers at the time said it was like watching an iceberg floating along, and about as exciting. Their turn was up when they either took a breath or managed to float without moving for a minute. The winner was the one who floated furthest from the starting point. That doesn't sound like an event that anyone is gonna miss.
Yay.
I don't know, I'm not what you would call an Olympic athlete, but if they bring back plunging, I might have a shot. Time for the riddle. Wednesday's riddle was, what is as big as an elephant but weighs nothing? An elephant's shadow. Today's riddle is, throw away the outside and cook the inside, then eat the outside and throw away the inside. What is it? Throw away the outside, cook the inside, then eat the outside and throw away the inside. What is it? I'll give you the answer on Monday. Hey, make sure you follow or subscribe to the Kids Morning News Network on your podcast app so you don't miss it. In the weather today, the northern plains will be hot, the southeast will be wet, and everywhere else will probably be one or the other. Except the Pacific Northwest, you may be cold and dry today, so enjoy. In the Northeast, it'll be a little less humid, less sticky. I hope. All right, that's the show. Thank you very much for listening. I'll be back Monday, and I hope you are too. Make sure you follow or subscribe to the Kids Morning News Network on your podcast player. Make sure you don't miss anything. From the KMNN Newsroom, this is Alex, signing off.